continuing story of our band of heroes. Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo, C-3PO, R2-D2, and Chewbacca. And introducing Lando Calrissian.
Hey guys, I'm Kevin.
I'm Jake.
And this is Movie Matters. We're in Blockbuster month, so it'll be a fun one compared to our depressing war movie month. We're starting it off with a banger. We got Empire Strikes Back from 1980. We just watched the trailer for it. Harrison Ford narrates that. Could you pick up on that a little bit?
Yeah, it like kind of sounded like him, but also didn't really sound like him. So yeah.
This movie is epic. It's number 15 on IMDb's top 250 list. Directed by Irvin Kershner, not George Lucas. Story by him, not written by him. And I've got a lot of trivia on it. And yeah, I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. I've loved Star Wars ever since I was a little kid. I've always owned the movies. I had the regular editions on VHS and then the special editions in their gold package on VHS, then the DVDs, the Blu-rays. However, I ironically do not own them in 4K, and I'm a big proponent for 4K media. Do you own them in 4K, Jake?
Yeah, I bought the original 6 movies in 4K.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we had them on Laserdisc growing up.
You and the Laserdiscs. That's pretty epic, too. I bet they're the original cuts, too.
Yeah, they would have been.
I wonder, do you still have them?
My parents do, yeah.
I wonder if those are worth some money. I bet they are. I bet they are. You should look into that.
You can't find the original cuts anymore.
I wonder if the VHS copies are worth a lot of money. I know mine were kind of beat up a little bit, like the packaging. I'm going to do a quick search here real quick, but I mean, I have a huge relationship to Star Wars. Like I said, I've loved it. I have at my parents' house, I have buckets. I'm talking buckets and buckets of action figures and toys from there, the weapons, the lightsabers. I've got it all. I'm a huge fan of Star Wars, and I have a lot to say about the other movies, especially the newer ones. However, this was pretty cool and great timing because I had just finished watching Andor. Did you watch Andor?
I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, you gotta watch it, dude. It's so good.
Yeah, I saw that the season 2 finale is ranked as like the best TV episode of all time or something like that. So yeah, I need to get on it.
Yeah, it's epic. Okay, here's the original VHS. It's like $13 on eBay, so it's not worth money. At least the VHS version. But yeah, so I had just finished watching Andor, which is amazing. Here's a complete untested box set trilogy for Laserdisc, about $100. I expected more. More. I mean, no one really watches this shit anyway, but or like on VHS or Laserdisc anymore. But pretty interesting. But yeah, so sorry, I'm getting distracted here. Loved Andor. Andor is incredible. It, like you said, it's super high rated. It's the best Star Wars thing, I'd almost argue, period, which is high praise. It's incredible. It's so well done, and I loved it. Minus a couple, like the first 3 episodes of this newest season were kind of a little boring and lame, but the rest of the season was incredible. But the reason I bring that up is I watched Rogue One. It's like you literally could watch all these back to back to back, and it's fucking awesome. So I watched Rogue One right after Andor ended. Then I just watched A New Hope this beginning of this week, and then I went right into this. So it's been back to back of Star Wars, which has been awesome. And I haven't watched the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy in quite a while. It's definitely been a bit. So watching this is such an awesome movie and a great sequel. And yeah, I love it. Talk to me about your relationship with Star Wars, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a big Star Wars fan. I don't know if you can see it in my shot, but there's a Darth Vader up here.
I don't think I can see it.
I've got a Lego TIE Fighter in the other corner, and my family set of lightsabers up on the top of my desk. Me and my wife built some in Disney World this past fall.
So cool.
I went red, of course, because you gotta. But yeah, I mean, I've always been a huge fan. We watched the shit out of those laser discs like all the time, and then now I've been trying to indoctrinate my 1.5-year-old daughter into watching them. And we went to Disney World in the fall for her birthday. Well, actually, it was we were there during my birthday, but it was for her like first birthday. And she met Chewbacca, and now she's like obsessed with him.
Oh,
And,
that's awesome.
Empire is like the only movie that like prominently features Chewbacca enough that she's willing to like sit through the entire movie and watch it. So me and her have actually been watching Empire like once a month since
Seriously?
like November. Yeah.
Oh my god, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So you're very familiar with this movie.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm shocked you have not watched Andor yet. You have to. Definitely not a kids show though. I don't think your daughter could watch that. But it's epic. It's epic. You got to watch it. Like I said, there's quite a bit of trivia with this movie that I found very interesting. First and foremost, the trivia. This fact is pretty cool. George Lucas, after watching Eraserhead from '77, he offered David Lynch the chance to direct this movie.
Which would have been really interesting.
Very interesting for David Lynch. I mean, obviously Lynch did Dune, so he is, I mean, obviously that was later though. That was '84, but imagine a David Lynch Star Wars movie. Interesting.
So I looked up, the credits for this movie, and I was very surprised that George Lucas had so little to do with this one.
And there's reasons why.
Yeah, which I was wondering if you had those, because it's very surprising. And I know a lot of people that I've met believe this is the best of the original trilogy. Some people think it's the best out of the original trilogy and the prequels. I'm slowly converting to that camp. Like the
Especially
more
watching it once a month.
watch this recently, the more I'm like, this is a really, really good movie. But I still like Revenge of the Sith a lot. But
Revenge of the Sith is awesome, especially growing up as kids. I always wanted lightsaber fights, and that movie has a shit ton of lightsaber fights, and that's why I like it. Also, like, shout out to my mom. She took me out of Miss Nazen Benny's class, English class. You were in that class, I'm pretty sure.
yeah.
7th grade. Took me out of the class like at 12 o'clock to go watch Star Wars in IMAX. And my teacher, Nazen Benny, found out that I was doing that, and she didn't care. She was cool. She was quoting the movie, and she was like, "Go enjoy." Like, I was like, "Fuck yeah, that was cool." So I will never forget that. That is a core memory. Thank you, Mom. Yeah, this movie's epic. I agree. It probably could be the best. However, A New Hope is amazing.
Really,
It's
really
so
good.
mind-blowing.
All three of the original
Yeah.
movies are pretty amazing.
I think a lot of people shit on Return of the Jedi, though, which I disagree.
Like, so what I've kind of noticed is the people that dislike Return of the Jedi the most are the people who grew up watching the original trilogy, and they hate it because of the Ewoks.
Yes.
But like, people our age don't care about the Ewoks,
Ewoks
as
are
much
hilarious.
as the.
I hate when they die.
I guess it's like Gen X would have grown up watching these.
Aren't we Gen X?
No,
we're Gen Y.
Millennials. Yeah.
Gen Y. Yeah, but no one ever calls millennials Gen Ys.
No.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, the Ewoks seem to be the sticking point for Return of the Jedi, which I don't care
Yeah, I love the Ewoks. Dude, when
that
some
whole
of them get
movie
like
is
wrecked
really
by
good,
the
too,
the ATSTs and like
Yeah.
they're crying and stuff, I was like, dude, fucking. I mean, I've mentioned it multiple times in this podcast. I hate when animals die. Seeing
Yeah.
Ewoks die, it's like the same fucking thing. This is the first movie to have a 5.1 surround sound mix ever. Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And it won an Oscar for Best Sound, which is very fitting. I mean, the sounds of Star Wars and the music and everything is iconic. Iconic. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone you know and can think about knows Star Wars sounds. Like, lightsaber sounds, you know, like that's iconic. The
Yeah.
blasters shooting.
Blasters.
Yeah, everything.
Ship noises.
Yeah. Iconic.
The TIE fighter noise and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love all those sound effects. And again, growing up with the buckets of action figures, imitating those sounds is part of the whole thing, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this movie just amplifies it, especially from the first one,
Well, and
or A New Hope.
In Empire in particular, I think is arguably the most iconic because it has the most iconic piece of dialogue possibly in any movie of all time.
Is it I Am Your Father?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also the most misquoted
Yes.
line of
That
dialogue
trivia.
of all time.
Yeah.
And the most epic response to I love you in a movie of all time.
Yeah. So that's funny too, because there's also a misconstrued that is like misconstrued that he improvised that line, which he didn't. He suggested it beforehand, and the line before wasn't working. I have some more trivia on it, but yeah, a lot of people say Luke, I am your father, but it's no, I am your father.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty epic.
Lots of really like culturally critical kind of things that everybody thinks of when they think of Star Wars actually come from Empire, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. This movie was also nominated for Best Set Decoration, which how the fuck does it not win?
I mean, Hoth is like unreal.
Yeah.
Like that whole base is like a real set, which is like crazy.
Crazy. A very period piece movie called Tess won over Empire.
They're just hating on a popular movie.
I mean, the first movie, so A New Hope won 6 Oscars. It won a ton of fucking Oscars. And this one only won one. Technically, it won a Special Achievement Award for special effects, which is weird. It's like it didn't have a Best Effects Oscar, but I don't know if they necessarily had it at the time. But
yeah, was that
in
like
'77
a later,
it won Best Effects, New Hope. So I don't know. It was confusing to read that because I don't think anything was nominated in that year for special effects. This was the only thing that won a Special Achievement Award.
That's weird.
Yeah, they don't say it. They don't, like on IMDb, it doesn't say won 2 Oscars. It says only one, which is sound. It's very interesting looking that up. So, but also what's crazy is this is an independent film. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't know that.
This is not a studio-backed film. Ish. And I say that lightly.
Well, it's Lucasfilm, obviously.
Yeah, but he co-financed. He financed it himself.
Yeah.
And so, I've got this whole awesome
It's
fact.
20th
about it.
Century Fox
Yes.
released it.
Yes. So, there's a handful of things why. So, in order to avoid sharing creative rights, George Lucas decided to avoid using major studio financing. Instead, he bankrolled the $30 million production himself, which was at the time like insane. Using a combination of his profits from A New Hope, which he made a ton of money, and a bank loan. It was super risky to do it, but obviously it was going to pay. Like, come on, it was going to pay off. The first one was so financially successful, and he recovered his investment within 3 months. So,
yeah,
which is pretty awesome. He then showed gratitude far beyond the Hollywood norm by sharing the profits with his employees, nearly $5 million in bonuses, which is amazing.
Wow.
One of George Lucas's goals in doing a Star Wars sequel is to become financially independent from Hollywood, avoiding a studio, and he succeeded in that goal with this movie, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
He had originally only planned to executive produce and finance the movie, leaving directorial debut or duties into Irvin Kershner's hands and Gary Kurtz to produce everything and kind of day-to-day activities. Because he directed, and this is why he didn't do any of the stuff in the movie, like any more credits. A New Hope had fucking wiped him out. He was just like beat from that movie. He intended to take time off and start expanding on his company, Lucasfilm, and he also wanted to spend more time with his wife, Marcia, so that they could start a family and finish construction on Skywalker Ranch. However, production ran over budget and behind schedule, and so Lucas stepped in to take more hands-on approach with the movie, and he went on location to oversee filming. He even directed portions of the film. Also, at first, there was a disastrous like rough cut of the movie, and it was like during screenings, people were like, "What the fuck is this?" It was like super incoherent, and like because of this, he's like, "Oh fuck! Like if this doesn't do well and this is shit, like I'm fucked," because he financed the whole thing.
Yeah,
and he's got that bank loan, so he re-edited the movie himself, which is crazy. But that also didn't work. It was even worse, apparently. Then extensive reshoots and post-production effects. He was working on that, and that put a crazy amount of stress and strain on his health. So he's like, fuck, this is horrible. And it put a strain on his marriage and relationships with the director and the producer. And so the movie proved to be obviously successful. He would never work with his producer again, and his marriage failed because of it, basically, which is super sad. So, like, that's why he didn't really want to do any of the credit. There's also a couple other credits, screenplay-wise. So, he basically... Where is it? Yeah, so, like, the opening crawl, obviously, that's iconic to Star Wars movies.
yeah.
To preserve the dramatic opening of Star Wars movies, he always insisted on moving credits to the end of the movie. But the Writers' the Writers' Guild and Directors' Guild did not want to do that. And they begrudgingly allowed that to happen on A New Hope, because there's no credits at the beginning of that movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They didn't want this trend to be continued for this movie. So they tried to pull the movie from release. They started fining George Lucas and the director, which George Lucas paid all the fines, which is and the director Irvin Kershner's fines. He paid all of them, which were like about $250,000, which is crazy. Then Lucas bitterly dropped his membership in the Writers Guild, Directors Guild, and Motion Picture Association of America, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So that's another reason he's not credited for anything too, because that's also hindered why he's not been credited on anything near the future, and like why he's never really directed movies or done much or like credited much in movies. So super interesting.
Yeah.
But basically, with his bank loan, when he was going over budget, he reached out to 20th Century Fox to have them help with financing a little bit, and like they struck a deal in order for everything to work out. So the studio helped at the end of the day for the most part. So I know that was a long-winded story about why he's not credited, but some very, very interesting facts and trivia on that movie.
Like it's crazy how every once in a while, I mean, like I don't know how often there was like that type of reporting, like at the time that things were being made, like now it's pretty commonplace to get, leaks about, how production is going on particularly like big budget films and stuff.
Yeah, like
and
Rogue One.
Yeah. Like the trend today is that once you start hearing that stuff is like, not going well, the movie turns out to be like absolute dog shit. But like back in the day, there were quite a few movies that had like absolutely hellish like productions that turn out to be like some of the best movies like ever, which is really crazy.
Pretty interesting. I can think of one movie recently that is one of my all-time favorite movies that had a horrible production and like issues. Mad Max Fury Road. That movie had a ton of production issues and like cast issues, like people butting heads and production issues and weather issues. That movie is fucking epic.
Yeah, Fury Road is incredible.
Also, I'd argue one of the best sequels ever made because it's a sequel in a sense, even though it's a reboot. It's very interesting, but I'd argue that's one of the best reboot sequels, hybrid movies ever made. Mm-hmm. Speaking of, with this movie, this film remained in the top 10 highest grossing films worldwide for over a decade until our 100th episode film.
No way.
Terminator 2 knocked it down.
That's cool.
So, pretty cool. I had to put that fact in there because it's just, again, very funny how these movies all tie together somehow. Yeah. So, pretty interesting. And Jake, again, you've been knocking it out of the fucking park. I'm going to give you credit because this is all you. You've been kind of laying these movies out and picking these movies. Yeah, you're fucking killing it, dude. So, hell yeah. All right, so getting into the movie, I mean, you got the icon. Everything is fucking iconic about this movie. The Wampa, fucking bear attack with Luke is crazy. This movie and A New Hope is actually they're kind of violent. Like A New Hope, when Luke's uncle and aunt get fucking roasted, literally, and their skeletons are charred outside of their hut. That's pretty brutal. Also, there's a scene with C-3PO dropping fucking fuck, I'm blanking on their names. The fucking little short guys with the beady eyes. Jawas. Jawas. I can't believe I forgot that. He's dropping Jawas on like a fire and they're like burning their fucking bodies in the first one. There's some brutal shit. Like in this movie, you get, Luke getting mauled in the face by a Wampa, and then you have Han Solo cutting open his tauntaun and like the fucking guts and shit coming out. Yeah, there's some gnarly shit in this movie. Yeah. And like watching these, I haven't watched them in a while, like I said, surprisingly, because again, I'm a big Star Wars nerd. And also, it's me putting these movies under a microscope for this podcast. These movies are kind of violent. Him cutting the arm off of the Wampa with the blood and everything. Same thing with Obi-Wan cutting off the butt-faced dude's arm in the bar in Tatooine. Yeah. Like, that shit's bloody. Like, some of this stuff's kind of violent in these movies. It's pretty interesting. But there's kind of a myth with the whole Wampa scene with Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill got in like a terrible car accident and he fucked his face up a little bit, and a lot of people think that they put that scene in the beginning because he gets fucked up in the face in it. That they did that to like hide his scars, but he in the movie he apparently didn't have any visible scars by the time the filming began, which was 2 years later. Because he had the accident in like 77, and they started filming this in 79. So, pretty interesting. Because I always thought they did that. They did that scene to cover up his accident. Yeah, because, I mean, the scene where after he's rescued and recovering, like, his face is pretty, like, gnarly. Yeah. So I always thought that was, like, they dragged him out of the hospital like right after the car accident and like threw him on camera and we're like, we got to explain this somehow. Like, yeah. What's funny is I watched this with my girlfriend and she was like, man, he looks fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't look good. She didn't say that verbatim. She doesn't really swear, so I know she's probably going to listen to this, and she's like, I didn't say that. But I'm paraphrasing, okay?
Yeah.
I'm putting it into my words, because that's what I would say.
Yeah.
And that's what I did say. I like that Rogue 2 finds Luke and Han, and thinking about Rogue One, I just watched Rogue One, and I was like, I never noticed that, and that was pretty cool. Then you get, when they're all back in that, like, with Luke kind of resting after going through the, like, back to tank, there's all these amazing, like, insults that are being thrown out.
Yeah.
You've got laser brain. You've got fuzzball for Chewbacca. You've got half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder, which is iconic. That's an iconic line that means fucking nothing.
Yeah.
And awesome. Yeah. And then you get the most controversial scene, a sequence right there, I'd say, with Leia kissing Luke.
Yeah.
And Luke kind of putting his arms back and like, yeah, I'm a fucking man. I'm a pimp for getting kissed. Dude, that's your sister.
So I've heard that George Lucas had not decided on that at this point. And that he actually didn't make them brother and sister until he was writing Return of the Jedi. And he's gone back and been like, yeah, that was kind of like a little bit of a like fuck up, but
yeah, and I mean, you could argue that it's like it was meant to make Han jealous.
Yeah, it is.
And that's why she did it. That's exactly why her character does it. But
they didn't know.
It's a little... Yeah, they didn't know.
It's weirder for the audience than for the characters.
It's not incest if you don't know.
Yeah.
And then, like, what I was thinking about is... You've seen Joe Dirt, right?
Yeah.
That's your sister, man. I was thinking about that the whole time. We should, like, cut and put that clip right in here. Like, that'd be so perfect. Yeah, so... I mean... So Lucas came up with the story. He didn't write the screenplay. Leigh Brackett and Lawrence Kasdan wrote the screenplay for this. So they were the ones kind of fleshing this out a little bit more. But Leigh Brackett's first draft of the screenplay contained the revelation of Luke's sister. Her existence disclosed by the ghost of Anakin Skywalker, their father. And it was referred to as Nelith Skywalker. Anakin explains that it was he, not Obi-Wan, who separated the twins at birth to protect them from Darth Vader. So this is like a different way of completely like alternate.
Yeah. So
like, reality.
Darth Vader is not Luke's dad in that version. Interesting.
And so Nelith also underwent Jedi training in another part of the galaxy so she could join forces with Luke to defeat the Sith. This concept was dropped in the second draft, along with the appearance of Anakin Skywalker, and replaced with a scene of Obi-Wan and Yoda discussing how they must find another Jedi apprentice in anticipation of Luke's failure when he leaves them on Dagobah. This, too, changed in later drafts, resulting in more ambiguous scene in the final version where Yoda assures Obi-Wan, there is another.
Yeah.
So
what's interesting about that line is I always thought he's actually referring to Darth Vader.
Oh.
In the end, Darth Vader's the one who actually kills the Emperor and saves the galaxy and sacrifices himself to do so.
Could be a twofer.
Could be a
two for one special, you know? Leia and Anakin / Darth V. Yeah, that's interesting. When I watched it, I was like, Leia. That's who they're talking. That's what I thought. But that's a great point. Anakin and Leia. I love it.
I mean, because he's supposed to bring balance to the Force. That was the whole thing.
Yep, he kind of does. It does come full circle.
I mean, he ends up wiping out the Jedi and the Sith all in one shot. So I guess that is pretty balanced.
And younglings. The internet goes crazy over that, by the way.
Yeah.
Apparently, so Episode 3 of Revenge of the Sith just re-released in IMAX.
Yeah.
For its 20th anniversary, and apparently people cheer every time at that scene where it's like Master Skywalker, like they cheer at that, which is fucking brutal, dude. Like that's crazy. Yeah. I didn't cheer at that. I don't cheer at that. I didn't either. I think it's funny that people like are so fucking cold-blooded with shit like that. I think it's also like joking, you know, it's comedy. But yeah, dude, Hoth is fucking awesome. You were mentioning that earlier with the set design. Yeah, the whole like rebel base inside there is cool. What's interesting is, and I always thought this when watching it, some of the rebel like generals and leaders sound very interesting when they're talking. They don't sound like them. And I read that director Irvin Kershner decided for this movie members of the Rebel Alliance would speak with American accents, specifically, while Imperial officers would speak with British accents to make the story analogous. I'm stupid.
Analogous. Yeah.
Analogous. It sounds made up. That word.
Yeah.
It's not. To the American Revolution. However, most of the supporting actors that appeared as rebel personnel on Hoth were British.
Yeah.
So, Kershner redubbed these British actors with American voices in post-production.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And I'm like, no wonder they sound weird when they're talking. I always thought that. I was like, it doesn't sound right. Mm-hmm. Very interesting. And then going to the Imperial side, Admiral Ozzel is his name, played by Michael Sheard. He gets force choked on the intercom.
Yeah, he's toast.
I was like...
He's failed Darth for the last time.
I was like, I recognize this actor. He plays Hitler in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
No shit.
Yeah, I was like, where do I know this guy from? I'm like, I swear that's Hitler. And that's not the first time he's played Hitler, which is kind of fucking shitty. Like, you have a career of playing Hitler more than once.
Typecast as
Hitler is fucking, that's bad. That's bad news, man. Yeah. At least he gets force choked, I guess. So I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. Like, that's another George Lucas, Spielberg movie that he's in. And then General Veers, who is played by Julian Glover, is Walter Donovan in Last Crusade. He's the guy who's like, what is happening to me? And then, because he drank the fucking bad juice, the bad Jesus juice.
Yeah.
And, that guy, that's another, like, cool thing. I was like, yeah, another Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade reference.
Yeah, which is at the end of the 80s, which is...
89.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
Polar
we'll have
opposite.
to do that. We'll have to do that movie. Because the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, I believe, this movie was like one of the biggest box office sequels. Then Terminator 2. Then it was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I'm pretty sure. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. Because
Terminator
Last Crusade
2 was after.
Yeah. So either way, they're all box office monsters.
Yeah.
So they all made a ton of money. I think it maybe was this, then Crusade, then Terminator. Maybe. I'm failing. But dude, that whole scene with the snow speeders and which they're apparently AT-ATs. They're not AT-AT walkers. I always liked calling them AT-AT walkers.
Yeah.
But they're AT-ATs. But how do you say the ATs? The ATSTs. ATs?
Yeah.
Like,
it's an AT-AT.
Yeah. But Lucas confirmed it's an AT-AT.
Nobody. Well, that's like one of the things where, like, I don't know, because nobody says what they're called in the movie. As far as I know,
I don't think so either.
I don't know where like that information like came from. Probably toys. They put it on the box or whatever.
Which I have one of the fucking. I have like the AT-AT or AT-AT walker. I have the fucking like toy of it where you can move the
Yeah.
legs and stuff, and
We
then
had one, too.
you open the side of it where Luke blows it up.
Yeah.
So fucking cool.
Yeah.
So fucking cool.
Luke
And
can
I have a
dangle
snow
from
speeder.
the bottom of it with his rope.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I had the snow speeders. Just so cool. I mean, the merch for this movie. I mean, George Lucas is a fucking genius,
Yeah.
especially with handling the merch rights. Jeez. Just like wrapping the cables around the legs and everything. It's so cool. So cool. And then the soundtrack to it all is awesome. So awesome. And the snow troopers, like the snow stormtroopers, are sick.
The coolest version of Stormtroopers, in my opinion.
However, I would potentially agree. However, I like the
ones on Endor,
no,
the bike
I li-
riders or whatever.
I like those are cool too. They're all so cool. Why am I blanking on this name? The pilots of the
The
Imperial.
TIE fighter pilots.
The TIE fighter. Thank you. I'm
Yeah.
fucking blanking. The TIE
The
fighter
black-
pilots in all
black
black.
helmet ones,
So
yeah.
cool. I love those action figures. But my girlfriend said a very funny thing that makes me not look at the snowtroopers the same way. She's like, they look like the KKK. It's like, geez, you're kind of right.
A little bit.
Yeah. So,
But
very
yeah,
interesting.
that scene when they come in and Darth Vader walks into the base is so cool.
Yeah, super
It's a-
cool.
Yeah, such a good,
And they-
awesome scene.
Yeah.
Like, great. Like, I mean, well, we see Darth Vader earlier in the movie, but that's his first like boots on the ground moment, in the movie.
Like,
and
hey,
it's-
I'm getting my hands dirty.
yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. I like the "Never Tell Me the Odds" line. I love
Yeah.
that. That's such an iconic line. The asteroid field, the soundtrack, them getting stuck in the worm with the like bats and everything. So cool. And then you get Yoda's introduction on Dagobah. My girlfriend was like, Yoda's so fucking weird and goofy. Again, I'm paraphrasing. She doesn't swear. She's like, he's so goofy and just strange and like odd in this movie. And I was like, I never
He's
noticed
senile.
that. Yeah, he's like going in Luke's things and like taking things and then eating his food and has the light. And R2D2 is like trying to take the light back from him. But the puppet work for that is incredible. I was like,
It's awesome,
I told my girlfriend, I'm like, that's a puppet. She's like, no way. I was like, yeah.
Yeah. Even
Frank-
like when he's on Luke's back and they're puppeting him, like it's insane that how they
Amazing.
did stuff like that.
Amazing. That's what watching this, and then I'm eventually going to watch the prequel trilogy. It's like they went away from all the practical effects.
Yeah.
That was so CGI heavy. And
well,
like,
George Lucas was like obsessed with CGI.
yeah. Still cool. I still like the movies.
I mean, but honestly though, the CGI in the prequels is like pretty damn good, even
Yeah.
by modern standards.
I'd agree. Like the pod racing scene for episode 1
Yeah,
is
super
fucking
sick.
awesome. Like, that's like the best part of the movie,
Yeah,
if you ask me. But yeah, George Lucas was so impressed with Frank Oz, his performance as Yoda, he spent thousands of dollars on an advertising campaign to try and get him an Oscar nomination for Best Actor in a supporting role. Isn't that fucking wild?
that's funny.
It failed. The campaign failed because they're like, a puppeteer's not an actor, which is kind of, it's like, yeah, it's not, but it's also like, he did pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah. Then I
Luke-
think in the same year he plays a prison guard in the Blues Brothers, right?
Came out the same day.
Really? No way.
Yes.
That's
Blues
funny.
Brothers. We're talking about Blues Brothers. Blues Brothers and Empire Strikes Back came out on the same day.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and Lucas didn't care, or Lucas felt it wasn't fair to Oz that he didn't get an Oscar nomination. Frank Oz was like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
That's literally what he said. But yeah, I like the Yoda talking to Obi-Wan's Force Ghost. I'm not talking about Ghostbusters and the Force Ghost and that. Go back and watch that review if you know what I'm talking about. We're talking about fellatio, people. Not to be gross. I like when they're talking and he's like, he's too old, to become a Jedi, to become an apprentice. They say the same thing to Anakin in the prequels.
Yeah.
Which is super cool. Very, very cool that the prequels, throw back to that. Also, there's a very interesting fact that I read about Yoda. They originally wanted a monkey to play Yoda and put the monkey in a mask and play Yoda.
Really,
that's insanity.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, that's not going to work because the monkey's just going to take the mask off every time.
Yeah.
And
do
imagine
whatever. That. Like,
yeah, throw feces at the fucking crew.
Yeah.
If I was a monkey, I'd do that. But yeah, Luke training with Yoda is super cool with him on the backpack. Luke is fucking jacked in this movie. He went on a crazy workout regiment to be yoked. Then you got bounty hunters in this movie, which are iconic, which you get the introduction to Boba Fett, which they've dubbed Tamora Morrison's voice in as Boba Fett, since he's Boba Fett in the prequels. And you get Yoda's iconic speech, do or do not, there is no try.
Yeah.
Learning. I love Yoda's voice, and it's the way he talks. George Lucas is like, I wanted him to talk that way because I want people to listen to him, and I want kids to not be bored, and I want kids to listen when he talks because they're gonna perk up when he talks. Pretty interesting little techniques he uses. You also get the Cloud City, which is iconic. Cloud City is sick.
Lando.
Yep, Lando is awesome. You get the famous ethnic slur, or not ethnic slur, but like swear word, Ichuta. You get that with the other 3PO droid saying that to C-3PO.
Yeah.
Which is cool that you find out there's other 3POs, and that one's all white and not gold like C-3PO, which is super cool.
I guess that style of protocol droid is more widespread than you initially led to believe, I guess.
Yeah, which is super cool. I like when he's pulled apart and everything like that, and on Chewbacca's back, which is really cool. I love that. I think that's super cool. And then you get Han Solo going into frozen carbonite, and you get that iconic "I love you, I know," which is so baller.
I threaten my wife with that every once in a while.
My girlfriend was like, "God, he's a dick." It's like, that's the point. That's literally the point. And again, paraphrasing, she didn't say dick. In the original script, Han Solo was supposed to say, "Just remember that, Leia, because I'll be back." Harrison Ford wanted Han Solo to die at the end of the movie, and he did not want to play the character again.
Yeah,
which
he
is interesting.
Famously hates being in Star Wars, and I don't quite understand why.
I know, and he asked to be killed in Force Awakens.
Yeah.
So they finally gave him that wish.
I mean, there's not much of a difference between Indiana Jones and Han Solo.
No.
They're in terms of the role, they're both adventurous, kind of rogue, kind of dudes.
Nerf herders, dude.
So I don't get why Harrison Ford fucking hates Star Wars with a passion. It's weird.
I think it's just his attitude, man. I think if you've seen him do interviews, he gives zero fucks a lot. I think in his older age, he
even
may have even more so, but pretty interesting. I mean, he's iconic. He's a fucking national treasure for sure. So I mean, George Lucas was like, let's just put you in frozen carbonite. That's a fucking thing. You don't need to die. Let's just put you in frozen carbonite. You'll be fine. And then we can deal with you later. And Harrison Ford initially, or eventually agreed to obviously be in Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, then you get an epic lightsaber fight between Luke and Darth Vader, which is what you've been waiting for. And it's teased in Dagobah with the like kind of vision that he has.
Mm-hmm.
The set for that is amazing. Like, again, how the hell this movie did not win Best Set Decoration is beyond me. Beyond me. And a movie called fucking Tess won it. Get the fuck out of here, dude.
Yeah,
Granted, I've never seen that movie, so don't hate me.
I don't know what it is either.
I think it's a period drama, like I said, and it's directed by Roman Polanski, but which Polanski's that's a whole nother story with that fucking guy.
Yeah, the like, carbonite smelting, set is just so like
So sick.
dark and like foreboding and like
Yeah.
like so perfectly like ominously lit and stuff, and like that fight is like just so great. And like there's like multiple shots where they're kind of like backlit and it's just like their silhouettes, kind of fighting, which is awesome.
Iconic.
And then the move down into the whatever that room is that has the giant window that gets blown out is also a really cool set. And then obviously the like catwalk is one of the most iconic scenes in film history. So yeah, I like that he cuts off his hand. That's pretty cool. Like, I don't know, it's just I like when shit like that. I like when the main character gets hurt. It shows that they're not perfect and they're not invincible. They're not immortal. Well, that's something that they brought into the prequels also. Yeah.
Do you have an example?
Well, Anakin's hand gets cut off, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In Attack of the
I think
Clones?
his arm gets cut off in Attack of the Clones. Yeah. Isn't it like it's like half his arm?
Yeah, it's more of his arm than Luke gets, but yeah.
And Obi-Wan gets lasered, like hit with a lightsaber a little bit at the same time. So yeah, good point. Security surrounding this movie was so intense that George Lucas had regular reports about leaks from actors and actresses. George Lucas was so determined that the ending be kept secret that he had David Prowse, who plays Darth Vader, doesn't voice him, but plays him, say, Obi-Wan killed your father, and dubbed it later to be I am your father.
Nice.
Pretty interesting. In fact, only 5 people eventually knew about the ending before the movie's release. George Lucas came up with the idea in his second draft after the death of Leigh Brackett, the original screenwriter. Director Irvin Kershner informed of such during story conferences. Screenwriter Larry Kasdan, Mark Hamill, and James Earl Jones. He was told during the final the recording sessions of the final dub, who believed Darth Vader was lying. So, pretty interesting. Yeah, I mean, you talked about like bad production issues or production issues and leaks about that. Talk about like leaks for movies. Like Marvel movies are like trying to keep everything sacred and secret now, which I could care less about Marvel movies now. For some
they don't
reason.
even try anymore. It seems like they just tell you that Robert Downey Jr. is going to come back from the dead like 3 years.
Yeah, they
before
shouldn't
the
have
movie
told him.
comes
They should
out.
have just said Doctor Doom is the fucking villain, and they should have not said he was the villain, like in it. But
Well, it's
he
because
brings
they
a lot
need
of
people
box
to go to
office.
the movie.
Exactly.
At this point.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know how these movies are going to be, but yeah, I mean, this movie's iconic. I love Star Wars. I would probably argue it's one of the best Star Wars movies. I don't know. I mean, ranking them is kind of hard. It's like A New Hope, Empire, Return of the Jedi, Rogue One. Maybe Revenge of the Sith is better than Rogue One. Then you got Episode 1, Episode 2, and then the new trilogy. And then the Solo movie. Do you even like the Solo movie?
I saw it once and it was like mediocre.
Yeah, I didn't care for it that much.
Yeah.
I want to rewatch it, though. That movie, speaking of production issues, that movie had a fuck ton of production issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they literally fired the directors 80% when they were 80% done with the movie. So, yeah, this movie is definitely an 80s blockbuster hit, and I fucking love this movie. Anything else you want to add, Jake?
No, I think I think we summed it up. Like, there's, I think the cultural impact of Empire Strikes Back is like so monumental. I think there's very few movies that come close.
Yeah. Talk about pop culture for sure.
You're talking about, in the same realm as like The Godfather, or like other movies, with like the same, and like, I mean, I don't even know, like, people who haven't even seen Star Wars movies know I Am Your Father is a reference to Star Wars. So
yeah,
where if you went up to somebody and said, "They massacred my boy," they'd probably be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Or whatever. Pick your line from The Godfather.
Leave the gun, take the cannoli.
Yeah,
a lot of
leave the
people
gun,
know
take
that
the
one.
cannoli.
Yeah.
You make a deal that can't
make an
refuse.
offer I can't refuse. Yep.
Or
So.
make me an offer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it just goes to show, I think, how important Star Wars is to modern culture.
Yeah, 100%. And it's going to continue to do so for generations to come, and that's why it's so iconic and epic. I mean, I'm going to show it to my kids. You're showing it to your kids.
Yeah, but I have to. Probably pretty soon. I need to start like sequestering everything so that we can watch all of them in order.
Hell yeah!
And I get the really good reaction for "I Am Your Father."
Yeah, that's exciting.
My kids be like, "No fucking way."
Jake is also paraphrasing. They wouldn't say the F word.
I'd be
nice
happy
people.
if I got that reaction out of them. Even if
Actually, yeah, that'd be pretty cool. All right, guys. So thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed this. I know, like I said, War Month was a little depressing. We're on to brighter skies now and doing some fun movies, and definitely movies you've seen. So take a look, listen to our podcast. Please subscribe, like our videos. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. So please follow us and let us know. Shoot into our DMs and let us know if there's any movies you want us to review.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening. We'll catch you next week.
Yep. See you next week.